Hey, what's happening? I'm back right now with another gun review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the RG Industries ROM-14. Now, this gun is probably the most trashed and dissed gun over the entire internet as far as the gun forums go. Every time somebody gets a hold of one of these guns, either their grandfather or somebody died and then they found one of these guns and lying around somewhere and they inherited it, or they ended up going to a pawn shop or used gun store and they found one for real cheap. They get up on one of the gun forums and they ask, hey, like, what kind of gun is this that I got? Does anyone know what this is? And then within the first two replies to that post, at least one of them, probably both of them, are going to be completely dissing and trashing this gun and throwing it under the bus, telling the original poster, "Hey, look, you should just throw this gun in the trash. It's worth nothing, and it's a danger to the entire planet. It just existing." Um, it's a gun though that's very misunderstood. It's not worthless. It's by no means expensive, you know, or a high quality item, but it's not worthless. And it is very, very misunderstood. Okay? Before I get into that, I'm going to go into a little bit of the history of the gun. Okay? The RG Industries, and the RG basically stands for the first letter R is for ROM, ROHM, and the second initial is for some German is, I don't know, like abbreviation, GmbH, something like that. But basically, like, these guns were made in Germany, and okay, like, essentially these guns were like imported way back in the day as cheap firearms, for basically people that were poor, didn't have a lot of money to spend on a firearm, and were not gun people. Okay, this was a gun that somebody would have just to dissuade a robber from continuing whatever they were doing in their house or their apartment. You know, it and the philosophy of use for these people was different than the average philosophies of use that a lot of people on these gun forums have nowadays. Okay, like this gun was not made to stop the threat, um, or to have stopping power or knockdown power. No, that a lot of these guns that basically got banned in, like, the, what was it, like a Gun Control Act of 1968. A lot of them weren't really meant for that. A lot of these guns, what they were meant for is, since these were poor people who didn't have a lot, oftentimes, who owned these, basically it was made just to, like, discourage a robber from continuing. They weren't trying to kill the robber. They weren't trying to knock him down, stop him, or whatever. Because, okay, like, look at the marks. Look at, like, the people who were getting robbed. They didn't have a lot of money. There were no gold bricks in a safe. There was no flat screen, no Xbox, no like a luxury jewelry or anything like that. Most of the jewelry they owned was costume jewelry. Probably the most expensive thing in a lot of these homes was a black and white TV with aluminum foil wrapped around some rabbit ears. So essentially, they didn't have to stop the robber. The robber didn't really have that much motivation to continue a robbery once it became difficult. Because these guys didn't have a lot. There wasn't a high potential payoff. So a lot of these guns here, a lot of them were small calibers. A lot of them were not in big calibers by any means. And they were simply straightforward, cheap guns that didn't have a lot of features. So, somebody that wasn't a gun person didn't necessarily need to be instructed how to use it. It's very straightforward. You basically take the cylinder out, put the bullets in, slap it in, screw it in, shoot. That's all you needed to know to operate it. There wasn't all these fancy slides and safeties and all this other stuff. Cleaning the gun was very straightforward as well. You didn't have to bust apart that much of the gun, and that's the thing that a lot of these old Saturday Night Specials, like the old ones, from back before the 1968 Gun Control Act, That's what a lot of them were designed for. People that weren't particularly gun people, weren't going to gun ranges, weren't really members of the NRA. Um, it's just something so they could have a gun just to defend themselves without spending a lot of money. So, a lot of these people would get these guns, and who knows, it might get used if they got robbed, or they might go to like extended family gatherings out in the country, maybe go plinking in the backyard every now and then. But other than that, a lot of these guns would basically just sit in a nightstand for years, you know, after being shot with cheap ammo and just marinating in whatever gunpowder residue that was in them. You know, most of these guns were probably never cleaned before you got a hold of them. You know, um, it might have had the outside cleaned slightly by the pawn shop or the used gun store that had it just to make it look more presentable. So you would throw down the 30, 40 bucks, you know what I'm saying, to pick this gun up. Um, but that's basically it. They a lot of times they didn't really view it as worth their while to actually go into fully inspecting and cleaning the gun all over. So, while where a lot of these bad opinions of this gun come from is that people get a hold of these guns after all these years of them just being dogged, and no one has taken any real care on this gun since probably the '60s or whatever. Even though they made these up until about 1986, but a lot of them out there are very old. Now, a lot of them didn't have any real care done to them. So the first thing when you pick up one of these that you need to do is you need to basically break the gun down into all the individual parts, clean all the individual parts. If you don't feel confident doing it, because it is a lot of small parts with springs and stuff like that, if you're not comfortable doing a total breakdown of the gun, take it to a competent gunsmith, have them break it down to all the individual parts. Have them clean all the individual parts, have them put it back together, and have them check to make sure everything works fine. If everything does not work fine, there are still companies that make the parts for these guns, all like the ROM guns, all of the like RG Industries. If there's anything wrong with it, you can order a whole new part, and they aren't all that expensive. Maybe a few of them are maybe 20 bucks, but there are a lot of parts that are like $2. So it doesn't really take anything to fix one of these guns once you have them. But a lot of people don't do that. A lot of these people, as soon as they get the gun, they want to go take it plinking, or they want to go off to the range and show it off in front of their mall ninja buddies. And they get out to the gun range and like, hey dude, check out this gun, whatever. They get on out there on the firing range, and because they never looked this gun over to make sure that it's been cleaned, serviced, and that everything in it is working good, they get caught looking like a jackass with a gun that really doesn't work. So what do? They come online and they just go on and on about how horrible of a gun it is, and that nobody should fire one of these, and the devil himself made these, and blah blah blah. So that's kind of what happens. That's where the bad reputation of it comes from. If you take all the right precautions, though, it's a very cheap and expensive gun. That can be I don't want to call it high quality, but quality for what you pay. Okay? Now, the history of this gun also, beyond that, is that this was the gun, or the model of the gun, and it wasn't the exact one, but it's the model of the gun that was used in the 1983 assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan. This guy, Hinckley, basically rolled up on the president's like an entourage, close range, and started just firing shots off. He basically shot the president. He took down like a Secret Service agent, didn't kill him, but took him down, and then he permanently injured Secretary Brady. If that name sounds familiar, it is from the Brady Bill. This is where all that stuff came about from. It was over cheap little pistols that you could just pick up anywhere. It wasn't that these were devastating weapons at all. No one died. Out of that whole assassination attempt, I don't think anyone died. But like basically though, that's where it came from, and they banned like the importation of all cheap foreign-made Saturday nights. Okay, and basically after that, after 1968, they moved okay, like ROM Industries, the factory from Germany to Miami, Florida, and the newer ones that were made up until about 1986, from about 1968 to 1986, they'll have okay, like a Miami, Florida stamped on the side. Underneath, like the model number, the caliber, the name of the company, and all that stuff. You know, serial numbers are on the bottom, and basically, though, these are very simple guns. I mean, it's got like a little cylinder key here you take on out. You know, you know, load the bullets in, put this back on in. You know, it's real simple. Um, Basically, with mine though, I have taken it to the gun range countless times, and I've never had a fail to fire. You know, it's never failed. I have no problem with any ammo. I've shot all types of ammo, good ammo, bad ammo. Hey, it all goes through. Um, I've had no failures of any of the parts on here. It's been a good gun to me, considering that I only spent $40 on it about 6 years back. Now, nowadays, with the whole gun craze, and you got these people running to gun stores, wanting to get in before the lock, like Geordie LaForge and the Next Generation or some shit, trying to roll underneath the door and get their guns before the boogeyman takes all the guns away. So, it's affected all gun prices. So this right here, while I might have gotten it for $40 6 years ago, sadly, somebody out there is probably charging 65, $75 for it now. Should it be that way? No. But I mean, that's what happens when people just run out and just go crazy buying every single gun on the shelf. The price of all guns goes up, you know. But basically with these guns though, for the money though, I think they're a good little gun to have, you know. Definitely wouldn't have any problem having one of these. Now, is this a gun that I would trust my life with? No, not really. You know, if I really thought I was going somewhere dangerous or something, this is not the gun that I would most likely have on me, you know. For just shooting at the range, maybe shooting little varmints in the backyard or whatever. Yeah, this is a nice little gun. Also, hey, it shoots 22 long rifle, which is a very cheap round, you know. But also, you know, hey, you know, I've also heard a lot of guys that will buy this gun and will basically put a primer on the handles, paint the handles pink, and give it to their girl as a first gun for them. Because, you know, it'll look cute, whatever. It shoots little 22s. It won't have a whole lot of recoil. And good little first gun to get your girl into the game with, you know. But, hey, you know, they can be picked up for cheap. But, yeah, I don't think that people should really slam that gun all that bad. You know, it served its target market back in the day. It served them well. It just really wasn't made for people that were on the high end of the whole gun industry. You know, it definitely wasn't made for gun snobs. It just wasn't. You know, this is a gun just made to get people through who really didn't have a whole lot. And that's the story of this gun. Alright, thanks y'all. Peace. And remember to like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Let me know if there's anything you want me to review or talk about. You know, even if it's in like a different subject of some of the things that I do on this channel. But for real, you know, just holler. Peace.